One of the things that kept me going throughout this entire pandemic, these last 12 plus months, is being surrounded by other coworkers, other professionals, faculty, staff, university leadership that was very clear about an intention to survive and thrive throughout the challenges that were being presented. And when you're met with that type of optimism, really at every turn, not always certainty, but certainly optimism, it's motivating, and it's a bit contagious. So being surrounded by all that positive energy and all that resilience was one of the things that kept me going.
It was the kind, patient tutorials that I received from the Maryville Technology Department that got me up to speed on how to use Zoom and how to teach a class remotely. So my Maryville training actually helped me not only with my Maryville job, but my public school teaching job.
I'd have to say my intimidation with this whole pandemic as far as the classroom technology, initially seeing the iPads and the screens and switching back and forth, and some students are virtual, other ones are going to be in class. I went to a couple of trainings, and Sam Harris and his team did a great job.
I know for myself, I was not nearly as frightened about moving into a virtual format and using digital tools. It wasn't as stress-inducing as it was for some of my other colleagues around the country, because we'd been starting to do that and embracing that here at Maryville already. And so when the pandemic hit, I felt like I had really good tools to shift my creativity and my format for connecting to my students.
A big challenge for me was just thinking about the pressure that welcoming a new class of students is. And so I take so much pride in the fact that my team is really working to help onboard, along with the rest of the Maryville community, all new students and their families. And I take that really, really seriously. And to do that in a pandemic was really heavy. And so I constantly was thinking about, what are parents going through right now? What are students going through right now? What are they worried about?
So much of the way that we do social media here at Maryville is really based on what's happening right now. We're very events-based, and having no events or very few events really caused us to have to pivot. Having to think of other things to say and do on our social media caused us to dream up projects that we probably wouldn't have done before. For instance, we drove all around Missouri and Illinois, Adam, our videographer, and myself, and we interviewed students at a socially safe distance during the summer. And it ended up being amazing content. It was great to hear from them. It was great to get out of the house. It was great to see all different parts of Missouri and Illinois. And so I would say that creativity that we had to come up with, because our backs were sort of against the wall, really I'd call that a small win.
So what kept me going during the pandemic was a lot of different things. Netflix and all of the streaming shows for one, my family for two, just being able to have some ideas of when I'm going to see them and kind of planning for the future, being able to see them, some trips and things like that, as well as work, right? So being at Maryville University and at any institution, we're still working, right? We still have to prepare for the students to come, prepare for any events and programs that we're putting on for the students or with the students, what have you. So having that to come to and still having sort of some sort of routine really kept me going.
Initially, social isolation was really difficult for me. I'm a social person, and even if I would do Zoom with somebody, it would just bring me to tears because I just wanted to be in person, have contact with people. Since then, I have learned that I can completely engulf myself in a book, and I continue to do my running. Even though a lot of my races were canceled, I would still do my 50Ks and my 50-mile distances to keep my sanity a little bit.
So what's gotten me through the pandemic so far? Coffee and dogs. Always coffee and dogs. Dogs make me laugh every day and are so entertaining, and I'm one of the millions of people who got a puppy during the pandemic. So I'll introduce you to Garbanzo Bean Henry. She goes by Bonnie. Here she is. And then this is Sammy.
During the pandemic, I've kept my sanity by reading a whole lot more and by catching some new podcasts. I've read many books that have been on my shelf for a while, and I've tried to keep up with some new ones that have been recommended by colleagues and friends. And really, to be completely honest, the podcast that I go to when I really need to keep my sanity is stand-up comedy.
One thing I've been grateful for in the last year is having some more time to practice playing the guitar.
I think personally, it also gave me an opportunity to pursue some things to keep sort of my mind thinking more creatively. And so during the pandemic, finished recording an album and putting it out called Another Mystery, and released on digital platforms and on CD. And I think that creative part really helped me to, again, engage myself differently, think differently, bring a different level of creativity and spontaneity that I don't know if I would have otherwise gotten into right away.
My wife and I, we were scheduled to get married on July 20th, 2020, and it was around March or April that we were wrapping up our premarital class at our church, and we were wondering what is going to happen. It seems like things are really weird right now. Things are a little scary, and what are we going to do moving forward? And so we decided to take a risk and move our wedding up to May 2nd, and had friends and family there who were separated and distanced, and it was just a beautiful day. It was obviously sad that we couldn't have this wedding day that we originally envisioned, but the grand scheme of things, with all the other challenges that people were dealing with, we were just so grateful to be together and be able to make that happen in a huge way.